Hey skiers, it's Bob from skiessentials.com.
And I'm Emily.
Emily and I are here. We got our first women's comparison of 2024 skis. This one is mid-90s all mountain, and it's a really, really great place to start because this encompasses a lot of different types and styles of skis and like super versatile for a lot of people, don't you think?
Oh yeah, range of skiers can find a ski in this category. A lot of applications. We have a lot of different widths and shapes and just, yeah, a lot of contenders for, I would say, like a one ski quiver for a lot of people.
Yeah, like for us here in Vermont, you know, I think you can make the argument that this is really, really well-rounded. You know, like the 90 millimeter one that we'll do a little bit later, like you can make that argument as well. Hey, maybe a little bit narrower for more firm snow, but certainly if you're looking for one ski that manages a variety of conditions, terrains, turn styles, turn shapes, this is a great place to be. We'll also kind of talk about a little bit of the differences between women's and men's skis. Like, definitely I'm jealous. You get to ski like everything.
It's true.
You know, like I can't ski a lot of women's skis, even though they might have the same construction as a men's ski because they just don't come long enough.
Yep.
So I'd say about half the skis on this wall are actually like construction twins with the men's version of the ski. So there's really like a lot less differences than I think a lot of people may be led to believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, there's a lot of marketing that goes into selling women's specific skis. And so we'll kind of, you know, point those out when we get to them. Mainly the differences in general are that women's skis are offered in shorter lengths and different graphics, and then sometimes with those shorter lengths come narrower widths. But for the most part, there's more similarities than differences between women's and men's skis.
Yeah, I think that's the direction that we're headed in.
Yeah, totally.
Which is pretty exciting.
Yep. Emily, why don't you start us off with that first one on the wall there?
Yeah, this is an exciting one for me particularly.
Yeah, totally.
One of my favorites from this winter. I think what Armada did with this ARW 94 is really impressive.
Yep.
And has kind of turned this ARW into just, I don't know, much more of a all-mountain park freestyle focused ski. It has kind of a reputation of being just, you know, like a freestyle-inspired twin-tip shaped ski, but now it kind of is veering more into the all-mountain arena because of the changes that have been made to it, which for construction, I think it has shifted a little bit in the use of wood. I believe it used to be poplar and ash, and now they use caruba wood with an ash insert. And that just really enhanced the level of energy and pop and just overall responsiveness, I would say.
Yeah.
It's just the personality of the ski has just shifted, and it's still very, very fun in the park, I would say. Great option for those looking for that ski, but anyone who wants to be able to have a little bit more versatility and not be limited to just that part of the mountain, it's awesome, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think, you know, this is a construction twin to the ARV.
Yes.
So like, you know, we've gotten our own fair shakes at this ski, and certainly like a difference between this and the old one is just an added amount of energy.
Yeah.
So going a little bit lighter with the wood, they're definitely making it more poppy. And I think that kind of plays to both all mountain and park. Mm-hmm. One of the other big things, this is just about 1,700 grams here I think this is the 171. I don't know if you have a size on yours.
Yep, 171.
So, you know, still keeps it on the light side for sure. One of the other things they did with the ARV and ARWs is this new wedge wall construction. So we've seen a lot of this lately with more like joinery techniques in the construction. So basically they have these sidewalls which are fully constructed first, and then there's like a tongue and groove style construction where they press it in horizontally and then press the whole thing in vertically. So it's really holding part of the sidewall into the core of the ski. and that's going to increase durability as well as just cohesion. So you're getting that much smoother flex from tip to tail, and that just really helps, especially when you are mixing the ash underfoot with the lighter weight wood. I think that wedge wall construction goes a long way in adding to the durability and just overall power of the ski.
Yeah, I think an image that's been helpful for me with the wedge wall technology is instead of, you know, those parts, the sidewall and the core being pressed away from each other, they're being pressed together. And just as far as any impacts or, you know, hitting features in the park, I mean, the durability has increased a lot in this ski, which in combination with making it lighter and more playful, it's a really awesome approach to the ski.
Yeah. And this is our most, I would say our most twin tip oriented ski. That Black Crows, you know, has a lot of that going on, but certainly the most park focus with this new ARW 94.
Yep.
But certainly not limited to that, which I think is
Right,
pretty
and
cool.
there's a narrower version too.
Yeah.
Which is definitely, I would say, like very park focused.
Yeah.
This one is definitely the all mountain kind of park combo, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
It's a really,
yeah.
really fun ski. I loved it.
And they got the wider one too, the
Yep.
100, which
Yep.
adds another kind of layer of versatility to it.
Absolutely. So next, yeah,
This one's fun. This is a Atomic Maven 93C. This is one of the skis where there's not a specific male counterpart. This one is very much a standalone women's model. So really hitting that mid-90s and carbon-powered ski pretty hard. So they do start with a poplar wood core and then add their carbon backbone to it. You'll see with the Maverick skis on the men's side that they use Titano laminates instead. So this lightens the load, adds energy, adds pop to the mix, while keeping pretty much the same shape. Whenever you see like a tick down of like 2 millimeters between like a 95 Maverick and a 93 Maven, it's really the same mold. And we'll see that in Elan as well, where it's called a 94, but it's really the same mold as a 96. But this thing has a really interesting mix of lightweight and stiff flex. We'll see that with the Core 97 as well, where, you know, they really do a good job of keeping the profile thin. So lightweight, super maneuverable, goes from a full sidewall down to a cap in the tips and the tails. And I'll just show kind of how that lines up with the rocker too. As you put them together, as soon as that sidewall disappears and goes to cap, that's where the rocker starts. So you are getting that lighter swing weight in both tips and the tails. And it's just a really nice ski, very energetic and playful, while remaining like pretty high performance. I don't like, you've been on this and I feel like you were kind of surprised with the power based on the weight. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, when I think of this ski, I just think of like the strength to weight ratio being just super ideal. And I was very used to being on the Ben Chetlers, so similar shape, at least in the tips, flatter in the tails, but just the carbon application in this ski was really what stood out to me as far as having that level of stiffness and just responsiveness, still, you know, being pretty dang lightweight. And speaking to that, they just are so, I found them really easy to just like flick around, and they had a really low swing weight and just really maneuverable and responsive, but not feeling, you know, like noodly or anything like that. Like they have that nice strong backbone still.
1,280 grams here in this. I think it's a 165 maybe, 164.
Yeah, 164.
I mean, that's like super light.
Very.
You know, that's probably one of the lighter skis on this wall.
Yeah.
And that just really adds to the agility. Great mogul ski, wouldn't you say?
I agree. Yep.
Yeah. Might be like a little stiff for, I would say, progressing skiers in the moguls.
Yeah.
But it kind of depends on your style. You know, if you're interested in pushing down on the backside of the bump and want that support there, then that's awesome. You know, we'll see that with Volkl's Blaze 94 as well, just in terms of it being like supportive in the back. And that kind of goes against, you know, ARW or something softer in the tail.
Yep.
Even like the Sheeva 9 just allows you to kind of go a little bit more squiggly through.
Absolutely.
Versus these, which can kind of hit that zipper line pretty squarely.
Yeah.
But amazing skis. Like you said, that strength to weight ratio is just off the charts.
Yeah, it really is. And just really versatile. And, you know, I would steer a lot of, you know, advanced intermediates to advanced skiers to this ski, just because it's really approachable and just really maneuverable. I mean, you can get on it and kind of find its sweet spot pretty fast. But, you know, there's definitely, you know, different skis that, like you're saying, like if you're looking for a bump ski, there's different styles.
Yeah.
But this ski, yeah, it really impressed me.
Yep. Sweet.
Yeah. All right, this next one, the Black Crow's Camox Birdie. Kind of a similar arena as, like you said, the Armada ARW, just as far as the freestyle-inspired shape and profile. This ski was a blast.
This is a fan favorite.
Yeah.
This is like anyone who gets on this thing loves it.
Yep.
You know, this is a twin construction and shape to the guys' version.
Mm-hmm.
So we've both had, you know, equal shakes at this ski.
Yeah.
And with equal amounts of success and affinity for
Yeah.
it. You know, it's super energetic and poppy. We've talked about it a lot, like the build. It's pretty simple. You know, it's a poplar wood core, fiberglass laminates, 1,760 grams. So they put more stuff into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's got a little bit of a thicker overall profile, so that's adding to the weight. The big story here is when this thing gets put in, when you look at the camber and rocker profile.
I was gonna say.
You know, there's just a ton of positive camber in this ski. So built-in energy. When you load it up, you really feel the thing grip and then take off and shoot you into the next turn, which I think is one of my favorite qualities of this or any ski.
Yeah.
You know, that's just kind of my style, is I like a ski that provides me with energy.
That
especially
energetic
at the
rebound
end.
is just, you really like that. And I do too. And, you know, the other thing about this, which you kind of touched on, just with the amount of positive camber, it's also, given the shape, it still, you know, it has a really long effective edge.
Yep.
So, you know, you're getting that freestyle inspired shape, but you're not sacrificing edge grip and stability on piste because of the camber and the long effective edge. So it's just like a really nice combination of attributes, and just, you know, gives the ski a lot of versatility and just a range of applications.
It's interesting going like from the Atomic to this, and we just put these in alphabetical order, no like performance reason behind these, but it's always interesting seeing something like that Atomic, which is just extremely sharp and extremely precise and knife-like, you know, on the firmer snow, to this, which just has a little bit more quiet nature to it. You know, it's just the way they build it. Doesn't quite have that same just instantaneous reaction. There's a little bit more lag, but you also get the burliness and stability, just having that extra material. Nice solid sidewall underfoot there as well. But, you know, like there's some decent splay in the tail, but certainly more of like a free ride twin tip versus a freestyle twin tip, I think.
Yep.
And that I think that the Atomic and this Blizzard that we're going to talk about next really kind of line up better with each other than the Armada or the Black Crows.
Yeah.
Like we kind of go twin directional here. And then even the next one, little more twin with that Sheeva.
Yeah.
But this ski's been around for a while. This is a Blizzard Black Pearl 97. You know, does not have an identical counterpart. That Bonafide 97 has 2 more sheets of metal than this ski does. This Pearl 97 still has metal underfoot though, pretty much in the mounting zone, a little bit beyond. And that really adds to the torsional stiffness. As soon as we get like to this width, you need a little bit more material in there to provide kind of that ability to tip the ski on edge and get it to come around. But we do have their True Blend wood core in here, so nice sophisticated build. It does kind of come with more weight, you know, because this ski's been around for a while. It hasn't like progressed as these other models have. So, you know, not to say it's antiquated, but there is some more classic technology in construction here. So it's 1,750 grams, just about what the Black Crow's is. But when you look at that rocker profile and the flatter tail, then we get to see that more directional style come into play. So long camber, like you were talking about, Emily, that long effective edge, you know, there's a pretty big difference in how this tail rocker lines up with those other twins that we've seen. And then a lot of tip splay, like there's a lot of room up here, and that's going to help this thing stay on top, like really just nice jumpy performance. And then that long camber profile underfoot really makes this thing feel like a very high-end ski.
Yeah.
I feel like it's more advanced than like the Black Pearl 88 even, or some other skis in this category, just because it has that extra weight and that longer effective edge. It's not like a totally intuitive or easy to turn ski. Yeah,
I would definitely suggest a different skier to the Black Pearl 88 than to this one, for sure. If you're someone who wants to take it a notch up from the Black Pearl 88, which is a very like happy medium for a lot of skiers, like if you're progressing to a more advanced skier and you like, you know, I mean, the Black Pearl 88 is a fan favorite, but I would say this is right up there with it because it just has such a, you know, it has a burlier build, but it still is a confident, just strong, powerful ski that is accessible. Yeah. And, you know, it has a very high performance ceiling and is very versatile, and, you know, you can access a lot of its qualities and performance, and it's gonna just appeal to a lot of skiers. From what we found in like ski test feedback and media day feedback and stuff like that, is people that have like a race background really like this thing because of that flatter tail. It just allows for that clean cut through any type of snow. You know, certainly if you're on groomers most of the time, that 88 is going to have a better application. But if you're skiing in an area that has more snow, leftover snow, wind blown, anything softer, like this thing is a machine. Especially with the shape of the tips. Yeah. I mean, that just takes it to the next level too. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. And, you know, it's one of those things that, it's kind of a dated thing in that it doesn't get updated every year, but it doesn't need to be. For good reason. It has that classic feel to it, which I think a lot of more traditional skiers really enjoy. Absolutely. This thing's a little bit more new school, don't you think? Yeah. Another one of my favorites from this winter for sure. Yeah, the Blizzard Sheeva 9. This year's iteration is a pretty exciting one, and definitely changed the game a little bit. I think Blizzard wanted to take a more freeride focused approach to this ski. So some changes to the shape, and then the construction. We get this flex form technology, which I feel like that terminology has been getting thrown around a lot, and you know, there's some really major benefits to it with just the use of metal in the sides of the ski, right? I mean, I was so impressed with how this performed. Yeah, the older Sheeva had the metal in the middle. Yep. So underfoot and then through the middle. And now new Sheeva still has, it has fiberglass underfoot now. Yep. And then metal on the sides. Yep. So it is quite a bit different in terms of just that top laminate. They have incorporated their True Blend core into this as well. So it is more sophisticated. They actually run like stiffer stringers up through the center. So even though there's no metal in the middle, there is that denser beech wood in the center of the ski. So that's helping with vibration damping and keeping you on your intended line. But the metal on the sides, as you found on this and as we found on the new Rustler series of skis, really goes a long way in increasing that edge grip and just kind of confidence on firm snow. Oh, it was insane. I couldn't believe it. And I love how, you know, it's not fully to the tips.
Right.
It kind of ends about here, which is hard to see on camera, I'm sure, but standing in front of it and looking at it, you can see exactly where it ends and starts, and it leaves the tips and the tail, right? Because it ends in the tail too, in the same spot.
Nothing to fold.
Yeah, so
around the
it
tail.
leaves it unencumbered and just gives the ski that maneuverability and that flex that you want to keep it more, give it that more free ride feel. So the edge grip was just phenomenal, and then you're still getting that kind of softer, forgiving, more maneuverable flex in the tip and tail. And the other thing that really stood out to me was just the level of energetic rebound, like we were talking, which is huge for a skier like myself and like you. I mean, this ski just like boosts you out of your turns, and it's just a blast.
There's more changes to the 9s versus the 10s and the 11s for this year, which I think is kind of an important distinction. Like the older Sheeva 9 had less tail rocker. They were narrower, so they went from 92 to 96. So there's actually, these are closer in shape to the Sheeva 10 now, although the rocker is a little bit more dramatic of a difference between the 9, outgoing 9 and incoming 9. So this adds more playfulness, more flotation, like a rounder overall feel to it. I feel like that is part of the deal of the metal not being in the very front, is it allows the ski to kind of articulate a little bit more and make these really clean round turns, which not only comes out great on camera, but it looks awesome in person. Like you and Allie, I forget who else we had out skiing on these, just like you looked so comfortable on this ski. And I think that's a huge compliment to Blizzard and them kind of bringing this sophisticated and modern build into this. Like the Sheeva's been great. And they just made it better.
And the application of metal in each one is specific to the width. So like the 9 is the narrowest, so it's going to be more on-piste focus. Not to say that it's like a front side ski, but it just has the most amount in it, so you have that maximized amount of edge grip and stability, and then as it gets wider, you're going more and more into the soft snow focused free ride application.
And the rocker does increase as you get wider, but it's not, the 9 is certainly closer now to the 10. But great in the mid-90s. I mean, if you're soft snow focused and looking for energy, this is a place to be.
And still so versatile.
And like, I really like how it kind of shares a lot more of the same shaping with that Birdie, that Camox Birdie now, and because that's such a popular ski. But just taking that similar shape and putting a little bit more pop into it is pretty impressive. We got a couple of Ripsticks up here now. Up first, here's this regular Ripstick 94. Again, this kind of it's the same build as the Ripstick 96. As you get into shorter lengths, all the dimensions are going to decrease. So we're at 94 millimeters underfoot here, putting us right in the middle of this category. What Elan does with these skis is really interesting. Like we talked about Blizzard kind of upping that technology game. Ripstick does the same thing. They build asymmetric skis, so there's a right and a left specific. They do it both in construction and in profile, which is crazy. The big story here is the carbon tubes. So lightweight wood core, and then we have 2 carbon tubes that run along the edge on the inside. They basically mill out the wood and then put in these carbon tubes. The big thing here, not only are they 360-degree carbon applications, which we'll talk, or 3-dimensional, which we'll talk about with that head, but they're also put in there under stress. So when they mill it out, it follows the side cut of the ski. If you put a straight carbon tube in there, it's going to have preloaded energy. It's amazing what you get out of these things for them being so light. I think we talked about that atomic at being extremely light. This is pretty close, 1,500 grams, so a little bit heavier, but still extremely maneuverable and lightweight. And the asymmetry doesn't stop there at the build, because they do have more carbon on the inside edge here, but also the profile. So they're able to rocker the outside edge more. I always get tripped up talking about this. They camber the inside edge more, they rocker the outside edge more, so it ends up being more of a cohesive feel to it. So I got these lined up the right way. So they really kind of perform well together. They're not hooky, they're not catchy, they're extremely smooth.
Yeah, I mean,
from one turn to the next.
It gives that downhill ski just like that firm, like fantastic edge grip and stability, and then your uphill ski is kind of like a little bit looser and driftier, and it's just, it feels so natural and intuitive.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes, you know, when I first learned of the right and left, it was like, whoa, this is so new, and it makes so much sense. And yeah, this ski is up there for one of my favorites, and it really impressed me. Like, it's easy to be fooled by the weight because you're not expecting it to have that level of stiffness and strength, but just the application of the carbon and just the profile and everything about this ski it just speaks to its performance. And I mean, I would suggest so many skiers to this ski.
Like pretty much universal appeal, right?
Really.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you had mentioned stiffness, like the shovel, like this flex isn't that stiff, but when you get it up on edge, it gets progressively stiffer because of that carbon application, which is a really, like you said, natural feel with the profile. It also comes through in that construction. Like when you get this thing up and going, it just gets like smoother the deeper you get into the turn. Which is why it has such like a big range, you know, from beginning skiers who are looking for something wider that's easy to use to advanced and expert skiers that are looking to push it a little bit harder. Yeah,
it's really accessible to anyone.
Yep. And, you know, a little bit more flat. We're kind of back to that more directional style like that Pearl or the Atomic. And again, this compares well to that Atomic as it does have that carbon base to it and just being super light and maneuverable. I would say this might be a little bit floatier just because of that wider shovel. But overall, similar applications, users between this and the Atomic, maybe a little bit bigger of a range when it comes to ability with the Elan. You know, still that Atomic is a little bit stiff maybe for someone who's progressing, whereas that Ripstick 94 is, I think, right in the sweet spot.
I agree. And then we take it up a notch.
Yeah. Really interesting skiing these back to back.
Yes.
Not a huge weight difference. The only difference here is a longer and wider carbon application and 2 more tubes. So it's interesting because they're milling out wood and replacing it with carbon. So it's not like they're replacing it with a heavier material.
Right.
So it makes sense that the weight isn't even all that different at all. It's 1,500 grams. Would you put that other one back on the regular?
Oh, yeah.
I just want to get these back to back here to make sure we're talking about the right thing. So like this one's even a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
So that kind of shows that the wood is heavier than the carbon that they're removing.
But their properties are just, I mean, the difference it makes with that added carbon is very noticeable.
Yeah. So 2 extra tubes, 1 in the forebody and 1 through the tail, and then a wider and longer horizontal carbon laminate. And what do you think that does for performance? I
mean, when I got on the original Ripsticks, I was really impressed with just the high-speed stability, the amount of energy, and then I got on these, and it was just all of that, like, heightened tenfold. You know, just being able to ski more aggressively, ski faster, and really just push them. I mean, they don't feel more demanding, which is pretty cool. Like, you're not getting on these and feeling like a major difference in, you know, like, oh, these require more skier input necessarily. They just have a higher performance ceiling. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. Like, if you just put me on this ski and asked, does this have metal in it based on the dampness of it, I would be like, of course the ski has metal in it. The fact that it doesn't, from the first time we got on these Black Edition Ripsticks, however many years ago till today, that's the thing that really impresses me the most about it, is how damp and stable they are for not having metal. And that just is a very impressive part of Elan's ski construction.
Yeah.
And all of the things that we talked about with the shape and the profile being asymmetric and smooth and natural and intuitive, that all carries right through to here, like you were saying, just boosting that performance up a notch, which is really cool. And for skier type, it's really if you want to be able to access that upper end. If you don't think that you're ever going to be in that zone, then there's no reason to get the Black Edition. You're going to be totally happy with the regular Ripstick 94. But if you do want that performance to be on the table, then this is the place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember skiing these, and the balance between that, high speed stability that I already brought up, and then just the level of energy and pop it still had given that. I remember just, finding some airs to take, and they were just so natural and just like moved with me. And then the second I, got back on snow, it was like ripping right into the next turn. It was mind blowing like this. And, like you said, it definitely mimics metal, but you have, it's more energetic than say a ski that's going to be loaded with metal. And so if you're the type of skier that wants that balance, which, I can say I'm one of those skiers. Like I'm a playful, skier and I do like to hit little side hits and bumps and all that. But also, I like to ski aggressively. So it's just like, this kind of has it all.
Yeah, I found that these go from one condition and terrain to the next
very smoothly,
very seamlessly.
Yeah.
Awesome in the bumps. I love the 96 Black and the moguls.
Yep.
They do have that softer shovel still like the regular 94 does. So it's easy to kind of push into the front side of the bump. And then, I prefer a ski with more of a supportive tail, which is what you're getting out of these Ripsticks. And I think that works really well for...
And the look of them. I mean, come on.
Oh, they're pretty sharp.
They're very sharp. I love them.
As opposed to a bright yellow ski. Oh, watch it.
Yeah, we're good.
That was close.
Yeah. A little bit of a different look, but still a very, very impressive ski. This Ranger 96 is, again, it's hard. Each ski that we pull off the wall, I'm like, oh, this was another one of my favorites from this winter.
Yeah.
So it's hard to not say that about each one of these skis, but in particular, this one I found to be, up there as far as, the top tier for performance, but also incredibly versatile and really blends just this smooth, predictable flex and performance across a variety of terrain, and then just unbelievable edge grip and stability underfoot.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about these Rangers. They're unchanged for this year. So this is the second year of all these new Rangers. They were a little bit different than most other of these skis, where they just are trying to offer two different colors. There is a slight difference in, they do everything except call them men's and women's skis.
Right.
They're exactly the same. I think there's one length offered off the top or bottom of each, but for the most part, they're the same. Mm-hmm. We do get poplar wood core in here, that shaped TI laminate. So what we saw with Sheeva was that full underfoot fiberglass. This is full metal underfoot, and then it extends in the arms along the sides here through the tips and the tails. And it doesn't go nearly as far as the Sheeva does. So combine that with, I would say, more of a spoony tip shape here. Yeah. You're just getting more flotation and more kind of tip rise off the snow in these Rangers than you do in the Sheeva, which that metal does like to keep it a little bit more planted on the snow. So I found that these really like to be in that softer snow.
Yep.
We have different experiences on these skis. Mm-hmm. You're considerably lighter than I am.
Yep.
So it's interesting to see how that affects how a skier is able to perform on a specific thing. This one just doesn't line up well with my weight you know, I have a higher center of gravity than
Yep.
you. I tend to be just kind of pushing through these tips here. Someone like your size, and then we talked about the 102 recently. One of our warehouse workers, Chris, you know, more similar to like Jeff's size, you know, maybe 150 pounds, something like
Yep.
that. He is like dialed on these skis.
I
Like,
remember watching him on
Yeah.
them, and it was amazing.
like you and
Yep.
Louise, like
Yes.
dialed on
Yep.
these skis. And if you're a little bit heavier, or you know, certainly more top heavy,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I find that the performance takes a little bit of a hit. But
Yeah, I will say, like, I did find, like, it's a combination. Like, I found it very easy and just accessible to bend and flex the shovel of these skis,
Yeah.
which, you know, as far as just maneuverability and turn initiation, it felt very intuitive and just natural. But that said, given your experience, I would say that the tips can feel a little soft sometimes if you are really driving them. And given the fact that, you know, it is a similar approach to the Sheevas as far as the application of metal here, but it ends so much earlier, so it makes sense that the tips would be giving that feel.
yeah, I find myself wanting more from this ski personally.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
we've just seen people your size
Yeah.
have a lot more success.
Yep.
Which I think is really cool. That's a thing that we've discovered through,
Absolutely.
you know, almost for over 2 years of skiing on these
Yep.
things.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely have to kind of stay pretty center balanced
Yep.
to access the sweet spot. And, you know, if you do start to drive them through the forebody a little much, especially if you're taller, and yeah, that makes sense. But because I'm shorter and just, you know, just lighter, I think, yeah, they're so smooth. That's what I really noticed was like transitioning between on-piste and off-piste. It was the edge grip and the stability and the power on-piste was amazing. And then going off into the bumps and trees, it was, you know, that's where
Yeah.
this aspect of the construction really came through and
Yeah.
was highlighted.
You know, for the amount of metal, it's still like lighter, just under 1,700 grams. So maneuverable.
Yeah.
Has that metal for grip and stability. And I have no issues with the middle of the ski.
Right.
Like like you said, if you can ski it centrally, you're going to find a lot of power and energy there. I just almost find them too easy to turn,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, but through the midsection and the tail, they
Yep.
offer a lot of precision and control, which is awesome.
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting kind of segue to the next ski,
Yeah.
the Core 97, which is considerably more consistent
Yeah.
in terms of the flex from tip to tail. And when I say flex, I kind of mean lack thereof.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
This ski is extraordinarily stiff, and that's been the core hallmark ever since inception, lining up well with the Maven in terms of having just a very lightweight to stiff flex ratio.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to say that same thing, just another example of the strength to weight ratio.
Yeah.
I got on these and couldn't believe how lightweight and maneuverable they were. So it was another one of like, don't be fooled, because the level of stiffness that these skis have,
Yeah.
it's kind of shocking.
For 1,550
Yeah.
grams, you know, it is a little bit heavier than the Maven, but it is considerably stiffer from tip to tail, more consistent. We get 2 full horizontal applications of carbon in this ski, so a flat one on the bottom, and then the top layer is curved. And like we talked about with the Elans, whenever you're putting that type of material in a 3-dimensional standpoint, it just boosts the characteristic of that material. So we talked about it, I think we'll talk about it with Liberty in terms of a vertical metal strut. We're putting that on a different plane. Same thing with the cores, where you're curving that top layer of carbon and really just boosting the stiffness of it,
Yeah.
which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, this ski just really offers a lot for, you know, I would say a more advanced skier for sure. Stronger skiers who want that lightweight maneuverability. I mean, these are awesome in the bumps, I thought, and transitioned really well back onto firmer snow conditions, and just just a range of applications, and just again that their Head's approach to the construction of the ski is just, it like almost doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I own a Core 93 as
Yep.
a personal ski, and I picked it up last year because I wanted something that did just that blended different uses. So I want to ski with my kids in the woods, but I also want to ski by myself at a high rate of speed and
Yeah.
carve turns. So I need the maneuverability and agility of the lightweight, and then I need the performance and the edge grip of the carbon and
Yep.
the strength there. And I found that there are few skis that mix those attributes better than Head Core.
Yeah, I agree.
And like you said, like you got to have a skill set.
Yeah.
We found over the past few years, again, the ski's been around for a while, that those that make this style of turn, shallow, flat, edge angle, kind of Z-shaped stuff will really like this. And those that make very deep edge angles and high edge angle carves will also like this ski. Those that are in the middle might find a little bit more chatter.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're going to get with something that's this stiff and this light, is that if you're not fully engaging the side cut, then it's just going to have a little bit of a waver to it. And when material as stiff as carbon starts to do that, that's when you kind of get that chattery feeling.
Yeah.
So people do perceive this as kind of a chattery ski, but that's for those that are in the mid-range.
Yep.
So the flat and the high
But
seem to
not
do
in the middle,
really well.
yeah.
The middle skiers tend to have a hard time to really access the top of the performance of this ski, which,
And if you don't know where you fall in that,
yeah,
probably not this,
right.
probably wouldn't direct you to the ski. If you do know, oh, I do make those higher edge angle turns, like great. Then and that's what's great about it, is we know that, so we can, steer the right skiers to the right skis.
And Head does an interesting thing with their core skis. So they name them as per their reference length. So the Core 97 is truly only a 97 in, I think it's the 170. So we actually have our cores lined up downstairs. So there's an 85, an 87, a 91, a 93, a 97, a 99, a 101,
Yep.
or no, I'm sorry, a 103, a 105, and a 111 and bigger. But they're the same build. So you can actually like choose your core width based on what length you're going to get,
Yeah.
which I think is just, it's not, I don't think they intended it that way, but when you
Right.
look at them all lined
Yeah.
up, it just makes sense. Like, oh, I want a core 87 in a 177.
amazing.
Then you get that.
Yeah.
So, little sidebar there.
Yeah. Yeah, but how lucky are we that, that's like, it's amazing.
Yeah. Onto my side of the wall
Yeah.
here. We have a Kastle FX 96. This ski is a really interesting option for those that are looking for a mixture of precision and playfulness. I don't think there's too many up here that do it at such a high level. When we kind of look at the flex of the shovel, I think this is the most flexible
Yeah.
tip of any ski we've seen here. It gets progressively stiffer through the middle, and then the tail is pretty stiff. So as opposed to that core, which is just tip to tail stiff, this is more progressive and interesting. So there's more kind of creativity going on here. They do use lighter weight wood stringers on the side to kind of adapt to a more playful mentality, and then denser wood stringers through the middle. Fiberglass only in this ski, no metal, and really just uses Kastle's high-end quality and precision of ski building to make this thing just an extremely satisfying ski to be on.
Yeah. And pretty unique too.
Unique, because you can flex this shovel.
Yeah.
It ends up having a really short turn radius, 12.3 meters here in the 156. So, one of the shorter turners on
Yeah.
this wall. Just a really kind of a dramatic side cut for a ski like this. Was that you or me?
I don't know.
So about 1,550 grams, similar to what we saw in the core, but at that longer length. So really kind of blends that lightweight flex in the front, so super easy turn initiation with just more kind of a business-like exit to the turn.
Yeah, I was actually going to say just that. It's like this smooth kind of spoon-like shovel, and just with the flex, it's just really pretty effortless to kind of initiate a turn, and it's really smooth and consistent. And then, you know, as you finish your turn, you get that business-like, more, you know, precise, powerful finish, which is just, you know, gives the ski a lot of different personalities almost in one, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think if someone wants to have a ski that has extremely easy and amenable turn initiation, it doesn't get better than this.
Yeah.
You know, basically you just have to think about the turn
Yep.
and your ski's going. So that flex compared with that shorter turn radius makes this thing just extremely intuitive to get up on edge.
Yeah.
And, you know, at 96 underfoot, it's super versatile too.
Yeah.
You know, pretty excited. I actually picked up an older graphic version of these for my wife for this year. So same build, different graphic. But I'm really excited to see how she is going to get along with this ski.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it's going to be, she's either like on an ARW or like a Kenja.
Oh, okay.
So she's never had anything like in the middle.
That's kind of the sweet spot then,
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah. And I imagine she will enjoy the quality aspect
Yeah,
of it too.
absolutely.
Which, you know, it does come along with that price tag, but
Yep.
you know, you pay for what you
For
get.
good reason, yeah.
I mean, all these skis are using the same materials. They're all made from wood,
Yeah.
plastic, metal. You know, they just put them together in different ways,
Yep.
which, you know, just shows in Kistle's ability to make a really well-rounded ski.
Absolutely.
We had fun on these this year, didn't
I was
we?
just going to say, the day that I was on these is a standout day for sure.
Take us through it.
Yeah, well, the Mindbender 96C, you know, the day that I got to test these, and I'm sure I was on them more than one day, but the day that I'm referring to was, you know, this powder day in what, was it March?
It was, mid-March.
Yeah,
about the 15th,
mid-March.
yeah.
It was just coming down so hard, and, you know, if you were out that day, you probably would have imagined being on like a much wider ski.
Right.
But that said, I mean, this ski with the flex, the shape, and just the overall feel, it was so ideal and so fun. And, you know, it's pretty simple what's going on in the construction. But what I really noticed was the carbon spectral braiding, which you can see where I'm standing, but I'm not sure if it comes through on camera. And just the way that it's applied to the ski, it's a tighter weave in the forebody and then looser in the tail, right? Yeah, so just how that transferred over to performance was what I really noticed. And just, yeah, I mean, you were on...
I was on the same one.
Yeah,
I was
you
on
were.
The,
okay.
the 96C, the men's version, which is the same.
And you had a
same
similar
build.
experience.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'll say for myself, it's a similar experience to the Ranger, where if you're not central on it, you know, there's a little bit more flex here than what I have. You know, on the men's side, they do, the women's side too, the TI versions.
Yeah.
So this was a really nice introduction this year because it kind of filled the gap between the 89 Ti and the 99 Ti.
Yep.
The women have always had the 106C. We did a 106C review earlier this spring. And so having this new carbon width not only makes it a tighter gap between the 90C and the 106C, but also offers that intermediary ski, like a mid-90s ski that they've never had for the Mindbender line, you know, TI or carbon. So this one really fills that gap in terms of being, you know, this well-rounded all-mountain ski that does have more of a soft snow focus. You know, there are much better carving skis on this wall than this, especially for firm snow.
Yeah.
When you do get it in softer snow, that's where you see the benefits of this come through.
Yeah, and I mean, the Mindbender 99 Ti is a favorite of mine, but if you're someone who wants something that's a little bit more forgiving and lighter weight, obviously, you know, not as demanding as the 99 Ti, this is an amazing option.
Yeah, they do a really nice job kind of blending that carbon spectral braid that you were talking about with this pretty long tip rocker shape. So really just emphasizes that flotation. And, you know, with the width up here, they do have to have that carbon to help with that torsional stiffness. It is easy to get up on edge. I thought this was a great bump ski too. I don't know if you got in the moguls on this thing too much, but on the men's version, I was very happy because it did have that flexible shovel that you can pair with that more longitudinally stiff tail. So as they straighten out those stringers in the tail, it does add to that stiffness at the back.
Yeah, which is just a really unique and brilliant way to approach it.
Yeah. And like they do it in the TI versions too, but they use metal, and now they're using carbon. So they're just making it a little bit more agile, a little bit quicker, which I think benefits more skiers.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the soft snow, it was just so fun.
Yeah.
And just so energetic and lively, but still had a lot of dampness and just remained really stable.
Yeah, and they never had anything like this in the K2 line up until now, which I think makes a lot of sense that they're bringing this mid-90s, more approachable ski into the fold.
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge segment of skier.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like last year, they wouldn't have had a ski on this wall.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That is true. Yeah. It's exciting.
Now they're right there.
Yeah. It's awesome.
This is a Liberty Genesis 96, along with the ARW, the Camox Birdie, the Sheeva even. This one certainly has more of that playful style of a tail to it. You know, it's not really a freestyle twin tip, and we talk about this on the men's side as well. They have the Helix series of skis, which is a more park-focused series. This definitely falls more into the free ride category, what we've kind of thought about from Liberty for forever. Like, this is like a tried and true Liberty ski. Fun, easy to use, has some good energy to it. They use an interesting construction technique. We kind of alluded to it earlier, but they blend bamboo, poplar, lighter weight paulownia, carbon, and then one vertical metal strut. So that vertical metal stringer runs straight through the middle of the ski. And if you think about how stiff like a horizontal laminate is versus a vertical one, this is much more like an I-beam that's used in like building construction. You know, that's going to provide a lot more strength with, in this case, less material. So that metal stringer really goes a long way in creating that strong and fluid feel throughout.
Yeah.
But these are like super energetic and poppy. The bamboo is interesting. It's super light, and they're able to make it thicker. So this has a thicker profile. There's more space between your boot and the ground, which makes this thing pretty quiet. And I think that's one of its best characteristics.
Yeah. I mean, as a freeride ski, you're getting just an awesome, really fun shape and profile. And then, you know, the mix of wood that you were talking about gives it that level of energy and liveliness, but that added vertical metal strut just like takes it up a notch. And, you know, you're not just getting like a lightweight, just kind of noodly, you know.
Yeah, it's not a noodle. It's
not at all.
Not
I mean,
at all.
But it just blends, you know, the shape and profile with that added strength really, really nicely.
Just about 1,600 grams here, so I think you're seeing that metal kind of adds up a little bit. But when we look at the profile, it certainly makes this thing, it makes that free ride and flotation aspect pop out. I can't imagine we have much of a better floating ski on this wall here.
I think that one takes the cake.
But nice long rocker. It starts way down here, and then in the tail, you know, it's definitely on the long side as well. There's not a ton of splay, but it is a long distance of rocker, combined with, you know, a very pintailed shape here. This makes for super easy release of turns. Like we've talked about, like a rudder style of skiing. So it just makes that maneuverability really, really easy and simple. Pretty approachable. I mean, it's not like it's not a beginner ski, even though it's light and easy to turn, there is more range of ability level, I think, here.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
And like that advanced skier could also feasibly use it for more creative and freestyle oriented applications.
Yeah.
So it's not just limited to that free ride all mountain, but certainly has more to it than that.
Yeah,
And I don't know, for my money, one of the best graphics up here
I agree.
on the wall as
Yeah.
well. So all of Liberty Ski is really super creative in their appearances.
Mm-hmm.
I like these Pandoras too. I feel like last year was a better graphic year for them, but
Yep.
what are you gonna do? They're still up there, don't you think?
Yeah, they're still really like fun and flashy and
Yeah.
eye-catching, but I would have to agree. Last year's were
They
more
were
my favorite.
exemplary.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
this is great. Last year was just, I thought, off the charts.
Yep.
But yeah, this Pandora 94, very light, very agile. I think it kind of takes what the Black Pearl 97 does and just puts it in a lighter weight and more approachable package. So it does have that directional mentality. You know, like Liberty has a very kind of freestyle, free ride, heritage
Yep.
to them. And this certainly falls to the more directional side of the spectrum in terms of the line company. But super agile, lightweight aspen wood core with carbon stringers in here. Nice, I mean, it's a consistent flex.
Yeah.
It's not a noodle, but it's not overwhelmingly
It's forgiving
stiff either.
enough and highly responsive.
Yeah.
And just I would say pretty approachable for a wide range of skiers.
Yeah.
And it's cool because I feel like it reminds me of kind of what you said about K2. It's like, you know, Lion obviously has been up in this, you know, discipline for a while, but as far as just the direction, it's like, it's cool that this is kind of more of a directional ski.
Yeah.
And similar to K2, kind of just taking that more all-mountain directional approach with some of their newer skis. This is just so versatile and just so fun across the whole mountain, I would say.
Yeah, I can't look at this like half cap to full cap build and not think that this is one of the better mogul or tree skis
Yeah.
on this wall. Anytime you're seeing more cap put into a ski, that's increasing the agility of it and just making it quicker and more maneuverable overall. So if you're looking for something that is just insanely quick,
Yep.
just from edge to edge and side to side, this has a very thin profile, similar to what we saw with that Maven back there, just with a more approachable flex.
Yeah.
So you're really able to get this thing from one turn to the next super easy.
Yeah, similar to what I was saying about the Maven, just like to flick it around and just, you know, maneuver it however you want. Like variety of turn shapes. I mean, what is the turn radius on this?
I don't see it on mine.
Yeah, I don't see it on here
I'd
either.
imagine it's in the 15 meter
I was gonna
range.
say, yeah, 15 or around there, but just, I mean, I feel like it just is capable of making a lot of different turn shapes and styles at different speeds. You know, there's obviously going to be damper, more stable skis
Yeah.
out there for an all-mountain ski. There's going to be a more, you know, free ride kind of creative style ski, but this kind of falls in the middle and just does a lot of everything really well.
Yeah, we kind of talk about this with like the QST from Salomon. Like if you don't know what to get after all this, like
Yeah.
this is a great middle of the road option.
Totally.
We used to have the Sick Day series of skis for
Mm-hmm.
the guys, and this is actually like the same as a Sick Day, which I skied a bunch 2 years ago before they went to the Blade Optic, and thought that it was surprisingly snappy and just had a higher ceiling than the weight or the
Yeah.
flex let on.
Yep.
There's more
totally.
to it than that, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah. It's a great go-to. A lot of people that I would send to the ski.
Yeah, and Pandora as a whole, you know, just a lot of different widths for a lot of different skiers, you know, all the way up through a 110. And we don't get a whole lot of like 110 women's specific
Yeah.
skis.
Yeah.
So it's nice that they're building things that other companies don't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Line in a nutshell.
Yeah.
is that they just make very interesting and engaging skis
Yeah.
for a lot of different skiers. We got two interesting ones coming up here from Nordica. Do you want to take us through this Santa Ana 93 here?
Yeah, I would say this ski falls on the higher end of the spectrum as far as skier ability.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't say we're up to like the Volkl Secret.
It's close.
It's
you
close.
Know, we're getting there. Stance 94, Nela, Secret, and this.
Kind of all, or yeah, we're getting
core
into the
for a little bit different of a reason, but the metal-powered skis are starting to kind of come up here.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, this has a very high performance ceiling. I think the application of terrain-specific metal is what differs it. I think it's just a more fine-tuned approach to the usage of metal. It's definitely going to require some skier input, and it's going to deliver that level of power and stability. But just with the shape and just the overall flex and feel of the ski, you're still getting like an impressive amount of maneuverability.
Yeah, you know that you're on something different.
Yeah.
You know, if you go even just from the Pandora 94 to the Santa Ana 93, very different animals in terms of how they engage, push through, and finish a turn.
Yep.
Like you were saying, that terrain-specific metal goes a long way. You know, it's full width under in the tips and tails. It does break on the sides,
Yep.
in the mid-body and through the back. Full width underfoot, so you do get that strong torsional stiffness, you know, underfoot, and more of a race-like mentality than what we've seen kind of so far.
Yeah.
Very much, you know, on-trail, it's not on-trail specific, but it really excels in a groomer format. Getting up to about 1,700 grams here, so moving up in the weight class, and you know, with that, you are going to lose a little bit of maneuverability, especially like from an ease of use standpoint. I think you said it right. The input is really important in this ski.
Yeah.
Intermediates are going to not be able to do it as well as an expert. Like we see a lot of former racers do really, really well on skis like this. I think we have, I don't know if it's Megan we have on this 93 turning it like her old, like NORAM FIS regulated carving ski, which is really impressive.
Yep. But if you are not someone that's going to access that, it's going to feel like a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and that said, though, if you're someone who wants, you know, a versatile mid-90s all-mountain ski with that level of power and sturdiness, this is an amazing option. You know, making those hard-charging carves on piste, I mean, they're kind of a beast. Like they but still have, like I said earlier, just that mix of maneuverability and just responsiveness, given how stable and sturdy they are. I think they did an amazing job finding that balance.
Yeah, Nordica has done a great job with their shaping. We talk about this with enforcers a lot, and these follow those exact same guidelines. You know, with pretty extended tip rocker, and it goes beyond the side cut. So, you know, the rocker starts here, and the side cut ends here. So you're able to turn it, the more you turn it, the more that edge will engage.
Yep.
And that kind of goes against something like Ranger, which has the side cut and the rocker are a lot more closely aligned, and that's where you get that just kind of easy, like, oh, I turn my ski and it's going.
Yeah.
And then that's it. This continues progressively.
Yep.
So the shaping of this thing really makes a lot of sense, from it being both easy to turn, for a skilled skier, as well as just incredibly responsive. Nice longer, but again, minimal splay in the tail. Where did we see that? I think K2 here had that same type of style going on, but really makes a lot of sense. You know, rounder, more like the Liberty, that's kind of where that accessibility comes in. If this was square like we saw in the Kastle, then we're talking about a different ski altogether.
Yeah.
So they do take these things into account when they're building them. just making it, responsive and performance oriented without being totally unapproachable.
Yeah.
And that's what like race skis are for, and more
Yeah,
on
and
trail
just like
specific skis.
taking, a more attentive focus to the amount of precision too.
Yeah.
Like you really need to engage them to access it, but with the right skier on them, it's kind of foolproof.
Yeah. Similar to Elan, we kind of have two different versions of this Santa Ana. This is a 93 Unlimited. This has been kind of a new trend lately where a company will take an existing popular model, change the construction, but keep the shape the same. And that kind of opens up more territory, more range of skiers. There's a touring application here with this Unlimited version. Really what they're doing is lightening the wood core, taking out the metal, replacing it with carbon. But other than that, these things are the same. So this one, 1,640 grams on the scale, and then the Unlimited here, 1,375. Wow. So we're dropping 300 grams? My math is
You
poor.
looked at me, oh boy.
I thought you had done the calculation in your head already. So we're dropping a few hundred grams. That's going to increase uphill efficiency. And then what we talked about in terms of the demand on this doesn't really exist in the Unlimited version.
And I love when a company does that, honestly. It's like great footprint, stick with it, but offer it in a lighter, just more approachable, forgiving, build and package. And, the shape like we've been focusing on is really amazing for all mountain versatility and just someone who wants to, have it as a hybrid ski for resort and touring. Awesome ski for that.
Yeah, and like I would say, don't be scared or swayed or persuaded into thinking this is only a touring ski.
Right, absolutely.
Like you can
not.
100% put an alpine binding on this and use this as your resort ski. It's going to align a little bit better with something like the Pandora, which, very similar recipes.
Yeah.
Light wood core, carbon stringers, more directional shape. Like there's more similarities here than between these two.
Yeah.
Inline doesn't even come close to saying this is our touring version of a ski.
Right.
So don't listen to the marketing when it comes to this is only a touring ski.
Yeah.
There's obviously lighter options than this out there if you want a touring specific ski. What they're saying is, here's a wonderful shape that we know works and people like, and we're going to make it a little bit more poppy and energetic.
And if you want to take it touring, it'll do great.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, with alpine bindings at the resort, it's going to give you that, higher level of responsiveness. It's going to be more agile and just require like a little bit less skier input than that one.
Yeah, and like I'd rather ski that in the trees than this.
Totally, yeah.
That's the reality of it, is that there are things that this Unlimited version do better than the regular version.
Absolutely. And again, graphics-wise, I've always
You
really
like that one?
I've really liked,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and they do this on the men's side as well with the Enforcer Unlimiteds, and I have a 104 Unlimited, and I love that thing.
Yeah.
This is an interesting example. This is a Salomon Stance 94. On the men's side, we've had the Stance series of skis for a few years, and they've actually changed their construction to be closer to this. So they've taken the men's version of the Stance and gone from a regular poplar wood core to a blend of Karuba and poplar, which is what we see here. So a little bit lighter, a little bit more flexible. And then they've also gone from carbon flax material to carbon basalt. So they're just making it a little bit lighter, more approachable. I think they've just found that the women's version of this ski was more appealing than the men's, and they've put that construction in here. And I think that's great. They're taking something that they've heard feedback from that, hey, this works really well in these situations. Maybe more people will enjoy that. And I'm a huge Stance series of ski fan.
I am too, and actually with the slight changes in this year's iteration, I think just given my style of skiing and being a little bit lighter weight, like I really like how these feel because I don't feel like they sacrificed the edge grip and the stability on piste. They just, added a little bit more responsiveness and energy, in my opinion. And for some reason, the ski tends to get kind of lost in the mix. Don't you agree? In
Totally.
mid-90s?
I mean, I think for Salomon specifically, QST is just so huge that it casts a big shadow.
Yep.
But if QST didn't exist, I think that Stance would be thrust more into the forefront of this mid-90s conversation.
Yep.
I mean, there are some, it's hard to get past Sheeva and Ripstick and K2 and Nordica in this range. And previously, not to talk about graphics too much, but like they weren't the best looking skis before. They didn't stand out. And these, I think, will at least help maybe catch some eyes on the ski wall.
Yeah, I agree, because these have a lot to offer. I really love these.
Yeah.
I mean, the high performance ceiling that you can access on these, as far as like carving capabilities, sure, there's going to be stronger carvers out there, but it really, like the mix of stability and just energy and responsiveness was just, everything. It was like the best of both worlds for me.
Yeah, again, like we have metal in this ski. It's 1,650 grams. It's a full laminate. So there's these windows cut out, but the metal goes all the way around.
Yep.
So that's kind of the difference between Sheeva and here, where we're getting more metal in the ski, and that's going to equate to a damper feel.
Yep.
Given the shape and profile, it also definitely leans more to the directional side of the spectrum. QST certainly has that more playful overall footprint to it. This thing, is decidedly more Santa Ana when it comes to, that directional on-piste style.
Which I think you're right. Like, you think of Salomon, immediately you think of QST line. So you would never think that, say, you see a Salomon Stance and you don't think, oh, Santa Ana. Doesn't immediately come to mind that it would fall in like the same kind of family as far as, performance and
Yeah, and they've done a good job, I think, with the profile of this ski as well. A little bit more traditional, kind of what we see in Black Pearl, where there's not a lot of tip rocker, but what there is in splay, there's a lot of it.
Yep.
And then nice camber underfoot and a little bit longer and flatter tail rocker. So that's kind of that hallmark of that directional all mountain ski, is that it's going to track pretty straight through crud and chopped up snow.
Yep.
But I really like these things in the bumps and trees too.
Yeah.
For having that metal in there and being like on the stiff side, they're reasonably agile and you can really move them around any tighter or more technical zones, which I think is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But very happy to see these new Stance skis come out, and I just think more people should be on this.
I agree.
That's just a really well-rounded ski that has very broad and universal appeal.
And it's funny how something like graphics can kind of dictate how they do, but hopefully
we saw it on the men's side. The Stance 90 and 96 were very muted over the past few years, and they made that change this year. And hopefully that'll help more skiers get on the Stance, because it is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
This has a different feel to it, don't you think?
Oh,
Just pick these up. Yeah, the Stockli Nela 96, right up there with the pinnacle of quality and performance. These are about as smooth and quiet as it gets. Talked about the silence of the Liberty, how they achieve it through thicker bamboo wood, that vertical metal. Stockli does it through a couple of different ways. One, and Jeff always likes talking about this, is the rubber dust. So between every adhesive layer, they use epoxy that is filled with rubber dust. And so if you're feeling how kind of even these things flex and how solid they sound, that is directly due to the way they go about building these skis. The other thing is that the top sheet is metal, so they're Titech top sheet. That puts the metal as the first point of contact with your binding to boot, so you're feeling the metal first. So that's giving it a damp, quiet, and smooth feel.
So damp.
As
and
opposed
so
to
smooth,
having
yeah.
to go through a top sheet.
I was going to say, is there
get to
any
the
other
metal.
ski that has that?
No, so like Head used to have no top sheet.
Right.
And that was a weight-saving technique.
Yep.
It didn't work out great from a durability standpoint.
Yep, I
So,
remember that.
you know, having metal, you know, obviously you don't have the same issues in terms of durability with metal versus polyester.
Yep.
So it was like a very thin laminate of polyester. But these definitely fall to the more directional side of the spectrum. You know, similar to that Kastle in terms of a flat tail. We do have that metal top sheet and then that metal squared off tail here. This is certainly a different style of ski than most everything else up here on the wall. Maybe that Secret at the end is kind of in the same territory, but in terms of directional, all mountain, high performance,
High quality.
doesn't get much better than this. I don't know how much time you've spent on these.
I was just going to say, I absolutely love these.
Yeah.
And this is a ski that I would never, like, think for myself.
Yeah.
And if I were to walk up to a wall, I would never be drawn to it just because, I don't know, it's not necessarily my style of ski. And I was blown away by how smooth and damp and just consistent it was.
Yeah.
I had a blast on these.
And it's not like they do things better. It's not like this is a higher performance ski than a Secret 96 or a Santa Ana 93. But what it does, it just does quieter.
Yeah.
And that's what you're paying for. There is that price tag that goes along with it, which is, you know, maybe another reason why you wouldn't just pick it off a ski wall. You know,
yeah.
like,
Yep.
I don't know the retail. It's like $1,200 or something like that, but it's well over $1,000. And so that can be prohibitive for a lot of skiers. You do have to kind of have
Consider
this
that.
thing in mind when you're shopping for skis.
Yep.
Is what's my budget? If you have your heart set on this, if you're like, yeah, that's what I want. I want the smoothest. I want the quietest. I want the best put together ski out there. You know, but I'm just not sure I can make it happen. I tend to tell people to just not go out to dinner like 4 times. You know, like that's your margin. If you're between,
It's a good way of looking at it,
you
Bob.
know, a ski,
Yeah.
yeah, lots of money saving tips. You know, but if you're between, you know, like a $700 ski and a $1,200 ski, you're looking at a $500 difference.
Yeah.
You know, there's certainly things you can do within your life if you're willing to make those sacrifices. Like, oh, maybe I'll just have peanut butter and jelly for lunch for a month.
Ramen noodles.
And go the old college.
Yeah,
college
exactly.
way.
Save up for these.
Yeah, save up for some skis, and
Yeah.
then you get what you want.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, I think it's good to get nice things if you can get
Yeah.
nice things.
And what you're getting is worth it.
Yeah.
I will say I didn't get off-piste on these,
Mm-hmm.
so I can't speak to the performance there. But what I will say is, from my experience, if you're someone who is going to be spending the majority of your time on groomers, on piste, and you just want a ski that's going to be reliable and consistent and smooth, like we keep saying, I mean, you can't get much better than this for that application.
I will say, you know, when we're talking about off-piste, that compared to a lot of other skis, like this tail is very flat, very square, minimal camber. You know, Stockli they don't specialize in making wide freeride skis.
No.
So when you compare that to something that's on the opposite side, like this Liberty, I mean, the difference is
Major.
Major. They couldn't be more stark.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's just how it goes. If you're basically getting that much more tail out of the Liberty at the widest part. So the turn ends a lot quicker and more abruptly on the Stockli. And when you're off piste, that makes it more challenging.
Absolutely.
So you have to get past this last little bulge here in order to get to the next turn. And when it's squared off and heavy like this, that just makes it more challenging.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you, Emily. I think that these are better suited for on trail and soft snow.
Yeah.
If you have to make subsequent quick turns on something like this, you're much, much better off on this Blaze 94.
Oh yeah, great transition.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, talk about, I mean, when I think of the Blaze, I mean, just the Blaze series, but
Yeah.
specifically this 94, I mean, it's just the most well-rounded, versatile ski. I don't know if it takes the cake up here, but it's close. It
Yeah.
might.
You know, when Jeff and I did our mid-90s and we had this in the mantra at the end here, we got into it about if someone said you can have one or the other for the whole year, and I'm Blaze.
Yep.
Jeff was mantra. And I just don't want to deal with the secret or the mantra all year for everything.
Every day.
I will take a little bit of a hit in terms of on-piste carving performance for what you said is just insane versatility.
Yeah.
And this is another example of a ski that when it first came out was kind of billed as a hybrid touring ski.
Yep.
That was kind of the point. They still have a fixation, skin fixation notch in the tail. You know, the catalog will still say, hey, pair it with a kingpin or whatever kind of hybrid binding you want. And then I think over the years, they have departed from that initial strategy and said, these are wonderful all mountain skis. They have metal underfoot, Emily.
Yeah.
They got a metal plate under here. It's
You'd
full width.
You'd never know.
It's not just binding retention. It's full width. So there's added torsional stiffness here.
I mean, you feel it when you're skiing it, but just weight-wise and just the overall feel and flex of it, it's kind of hard to believe.
I think this thing carves great. It's just under 1,500 grams.
Yeah.
We get a kick out of putting these things together, and this is about as flat as a ski gets these days without being fully rockered.
Yeah.
So if you pinch the mount point together, the rocker literally starts here.
That's wild.
If you decamber the ski.
Yeah.
So just an insane amount of rocker, and then in the tail starts right about here. You know, we're not talking about crazy splay here, but the length of the rocker really makes this thing stand out from everything else. So we talked about flotation with the Genesis.
Yep.
I would say this gives it a run for its money, not just because of the weight, but because of that rocker profile.
Yeah. And they're also really, they're pretty damp.
Yeah.
Like they do a really good job with the suspension tip and tail. It just does a great job at kind of deflecting and absorbing any vibrations. So, you know, given just how they feel as far as that kind of well-balanced nature and just really approachable, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, they also have a very high performance ceiling.
I think you're right. The difference between the highest level and the lowest level on this ski is probably a bigger range than most other skis up here. I found a lot of success in carving fast turns and skiing moguls and going through the trees. Like, I think this is an awesome bump ski.
Yep.
Like, you get the lightweight, but you also get the supportiveness. You know, it's not a crazy stiff tail,
Right.
but it is there. You
can make
feel
those quick last minute moves and turns.
You can put this thing wherever you want.
Yeah.
You know, that's the...
So in the trees too, like
Yep.
awesome tree ski. Yeah, I have a few of my athletes who are on these, and you know, free ride skiers, skiing everything from, you know, bumps and trees to, you know, just wide open stuff. Like, this really just it inspires confidence, and you know, is precise enough. It's not like the most precise ski on this wall, but just kind of blends all these attributes really nicely.
Yeah.
It makes it just, like I already said, like super well balanced.
Nope, I agree. And it's a very far cry from the Secret, which,
Yes.
I mean, it's amazing. We talk about this with Volkl a lot. They kind of double, triple, and quadruple up on like widths of skis. You know, there's like in the men's side, there's a Kanjo 84, there's a Deacon 84, there's a Blaze 86, there's a Revolt 86. They have a bunch of skis in the mid 80s. And then they do the same thing with the 90s, this Secret 96 and then this Blaze 94, similar widths, but they couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
This one has a lot of technology packed into it and certainly shows in terms of how it skis. Denser wood core, multi-layer wood core, and then we get their tailored Titanal frame. So metal underfoot, basically it's like a Blaze plate underfoot, and then they have the frame that extends through tips and tails all the way around. So it's like Sheeva plus.
Yep.
When it comes to these metal frame laminates here. And then we get tailored carbon tips. So they took away some of the metal. This was, I think last year was the first year of this new technique, was they thinned the metal. That's part of the tailored aspect of the metal. And then in order to regain some of that torsional stiffness, they put in these carbon stringers, which really help the ski get up on edge quicker and more precisely, without losing any of the performance. They still have the metal. They still have that denser wood core. It was just easier to get up on edge. And the result is that you get a more energetic Secret and with no loss of performance. The older ones were a little bit more blocky and not quite as exciting. Mm-hmm. These are a lot more energetic.
Yeah, I mean, the rebound is much more noticeable.
Yeah. And like that Santa Ana, we see skiers of high-level backgrounds having the most success here.
Yeah, like someone who doesn't want a dedicated race ski.
Yeah.
But if that's their forte and their style, and they want, to ski all mountain terrain.
Yeah.
This is definitely the ski.
Yeah, 1,800
yeah.
grams, so the heaviest ski. It's got the most metal. It's the stiffest, it's the most demanding on this wall. It really kind of goes right up against Santa Ana, the Nela, this stance here in terms of having the most damp and stable power. You could argue that the head might have a similar ceiling, but it does it at such a lighter weight that it just doesn't feel the same as the Secret. You are getting kind of a ding in terms of versatility in soft snow. All things being equal, lighter things float better. Mm-hmm. So if we're dealing with the same surface area as something like a Blaze and almost similar rocker, it's pretty interesting when we put them together. That Blaze is just going to float a little bit better. Yeah. This one wants to find the bottom and kind of go.
Yeah.
But the rocker is interesting. It's definitely longer rocker and a little bit flatter than you might think coming from more of an on-piste dedicated ski. If you pinch it at the middle, that rocker starts pretty low for something that's this on-piste oriented. Mm-hmm. And then slight tail rocker in the back here. Very business-like tail.
Yep.
High performance, former racers, strong skiers, they find the best success on this thing for sure.
Yeah.
But really strong, don't you think?
Absolutely. Pretty burly builds. Definitely pretty demanding. But with the right skier on the ski, I mean, it's just a really strong performing, high kind of a high risk, high reward type situation almost.
No, I hear you.
Not a ton of risk because you have to have the right skier on it. You're never going to direct a beginner to intermediate to the ski.
Right. If you don't have a good skill set and someone's trying to sell you this, they're not doing you justice. No. And that's the other interesting part about the Blaze 94 existing is there's probably a good amount of secret skiers out there that would probably be a lot happier on the Blaze 94. And we say that with the mantra to the Blaze all the time too. There's a million mantra skiers out there that might have a lot more success on a Blaze and just be happier overall because it's not so risky.
Yeah, and it takes a little bit more to access it and more, we've been saying, skier input.
Yeah.
So, if that's what you want to do every day that you go out,
Yeah.
more power to
Totally.
you. But yeah, I mean, the Blaze is also a great option for just, you know, that more versatile, user-friendly ski.
No, and I think that that's, I like kind of ending it there with the same company having two very different skis. You know, when you look at Elan, they have two similar skis. You know, the Nordica's same shape, you know, different style, but those Volkls couldn't be much more different. So it just kind of goes to show you where companies think and where they want to put their emphasis and kind of who should be on what.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's it. That's our first 2024 women's comparison. The mid-90s, great place to be.
Really is.
You know, really versatile. I think we kind of touched on a lot of different things from construction, shape, and profile, and there are these subtle differences, but they're really, they do add up.
Yeah.
So it's always cool to see what works and what kind of needs to go back to the
and I think,
tuning bench.
you know, we're not talking about a wall of skis that is, you know, limited to one type of skier or two types of skier. There's really a ski up here for, I would say, every ability level.
Yeah.
And, you know, depending on your style and your strengths and just the applications, there's just a wide array of options here, which is awesome.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's it. That's our comparison. As always, feel free to reach out with any questions. Myself, Emily, or someone else that you've seen on these skis in the videos, and we'll be happy to get back to you. We'll do some more women's comparisons coming up, so be on the lookout for those. But until then, we will see you later.
See ya.